Anybody can go out and do it. Do you have the courage to add a second truck? When you have the courage to add a second truck, amazing. But once we become a $1-2 million business, what's our journey? Well, the journey's to 5 million. You have to really start to know your numbers, right? Somebody tells me, oh, I'm a $3 million business. I'm stuck. I can't grow. Go look at your unsold estimates, because at 3 million, it's probably around 800,000 to almost 1 million in unsold estimates. Just go take a look at that alone. That shows you could be a $4 million business there alone.
Hey, how's it going? It's Tim Brown, and this is the Plumbing and HVAC Hustle Podcast. And today I've got Gregg Schonhorn from SF&P Advisors. How you doing, sir?
I'm fantastic, Tim. Thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate you, brother.
Absolutely. We're talking about what is the right time to sell your business. And Gregg has worked with a lot of companies on this and has seen people do it at the right time or look into it at the wrong time. And we're going to help you work through that if you're thinking about it. Gregg, could you just give me a little bit of a background on you and how you got into this?
Yeah, love it. Great question. So I spent many years on Wall Street running sales divisions for, almost 23 years. The first sales business I took over, we were doing about 25 million in revenue. Helped build that up to close to 225 million in revenue, going from 10, 15 salesmen upwards of well over 100. So I understand sales. I understand relationship building. Life takes its turns like all life does. And I had an amazing opportunity to go to work at a coaching organization. So I spent 3 years working with contractors, plumbing, HVAC, electrical, garage door, roofing, really teaching them how to grow and scale. And that's one guy in the truck, and that's $50 million businesses. And I loved all aspects of that. I do have a coaching certification from Columbia University as well. So I get a little bit of open-ended questions, how to ask great questions, how to move along things. And I love serving others. I really do. So I had an opportunity about a year and a half ago. Fred and Grace, who own SF&P Advisors. Fred is a college fraternity brother of mine. If you guys haven't watched it, you can go back and watch Fred's 45-minute interview with Tim. It was pretty amazing. But I had an opportunity to come to work, and it just seemed like a great next step in my evolution to go from helping guys grow and scale to really talking about succession planning and when is the right time in somebody's business to potentially sell or start thinking about the process of succession planning.
Love to hear it. So what we're going to try to do, I'm hoping, Gregg, we can kind of give them an outline of, you're here and it's too early. You're here and it might be the right time, or you're here and you waited too long, and kind of give them the different stages of where this could be a good fit. And I know that you guys guide people. You guys guide people on how to sell well, basically.
Yeah, we're an advisor, right? So our job is not just let's take your business and let's go sell it. Our job, private equity, whoever the potential buyer pool ends up being, while they care about trailing 12 months, I'm working with somebody now. They came to me recently. They want to sell the business, kind of that magic number that he's looking for. We're there or better, but his November, his December, and his January of 2023 into 2024 were poor. So I'm like, we can't even launch your business till our trailing 12 months kicks out that period of time, because we're negative for those three. So even if you break even on a multiple basis, we will do better for you if we don't take you to market until we've gotten those 3 months clear and out of the way. Just from the most basic and simple of looking at trailing 12 months and where the business is headed. So there are always, you have to look at, there's so many factors, and my head's about to explode talking about this because I do this all day long, but there's so many factors to play of, you and I talked about this briefly. Have you budgeted and forecasted 2024? Are you on target, right? As we hit this period of time, August is closed. When will I get those numbers from my clients? September 15th, September 18th. I want to see all my clients' updates for how we closed out August, but then I want to understand the budget and the forecast for where they are year to date, because we do sell businesses that are on growth multiples. So it makes a really big difference of, we need to know where you're headed.
So I'm guessing because you were part of that coaching organization that experience probably helps you kind of guide people a little bit. Like you probably learned a lot that you're using now.
Yeah, from my perspective, I find when I get on calls with anybody, doesn't matter if you're 2 million in revenue, a million in revenue, or 40 million, I can have a pretty intelligent conversation with you about where you are, why you're stuck, what you're struggling with. Uh, there is no magic bullet, right? Ultimately, for me, here's what I tell people. Anybody can go out and do it. Do you have the courage to add a second truck? When you have the courage to add a second truck, amazing. But once we become a $1-2 million business, what's our journey? Well, the journey's to 5 million. And what I tell people, you have to really start to know your numbers, right? Somebody tells me, oh, I'm a $3 million business. I'm stuck. I can't grow. Great. Do me a favor. Go into, if you're running Service Titan, House Call Pro, go look at your unsold estimates because at 3 million, it's probably around 800,000 to almost a million in unsold estimates. Just go take a look at that alone. That shows you could be a $4 million business there alone. Understanding the KPIs in your business, having the right understanding from a financial perspective is probably the single largest deficit I see in this industry. And it's where almost all coaches lack.
Greg, I've got a couple like for the culture questions for you real quick.
Okay.
For the HVAC culture, because lots of opinions in the space. I need to pick your brain on them. It's part of this show where this is just as much entertainment as it is information. So we're trying to entertain the folks at home. So I was just on a how to start an HVAC company video with Jason Walker, and he said his goal was a 12 to 15x multiple. Now, how realistic is that? And because I was kind of looking it up, I'm like, that seems like a very high number. Is that real? Like do you think that that's possible? And what would somebody have to do to get a 12 to 15x multiple?
So the first thing, location, location, location. Not to offend anybody in, let's just say, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, but you're probably not getting 14x in Sioux Falls, South Dakota versus maybe a Phoenix, somewhere where there is a larger growth opportunity. Is it realistic? Listen, I can't share exactly what we get for clients. I will say client number 407 that we just closed may or may not have been in the 12, 13, 14x.
Okay.
And by the way, the EBITDA was just slightly below $1 million. So this whole narrative of PE doesn't care about, below $1.5 million. PE cares about the right businesses that have growth opportunity that they see. They will pay high multiples. If it's consistent growth, if it's a great looking business in a great location, you're going to get a prime multiple for it. There's the truth, right? It may be a turn. Somebody that I talk to, we may quote them 8, 9x. Listen, our job, if I quote you 8, 9x, my job isn't to deliver 8, 9x. My job is to deliver 10, 11x. If I quote you 7, 8x, my job is to deliver better. But I could have two same businesses in two completely different markets, and I might have to quote one market 7, 8, where the other market, I will quote 8, 9.
Okay. When you're saying the thing about Sioux Falls, North Dakota, I was actually thinking to myself, I was thinking it was going to be higher for some reason because I guess I don't understand this game as well as you. So I was thinking more like niche markets where there's not a lot of competitors is what I was thinking about. Because I think, just being in Jason's market where Sacramento, he said is a flooded market. It's crazy how many HVAC companies there are. And so the competitiveness of it's going to be a lot of work. Whereas some markets, if you only have like 5 legit HVAC companies in the area or something like that, you could maybe cut in. I was thinking more in the terms of like how many competitors.
5%.
What's that?
How many of them are doing 5%?
5% of the total market, you're saying? Very
That's
few.
all you have to look at. Right.
Yeah.
Where if I go to Sioux Falls, I could do 2 million and I'm making this up, no offense to Sioux Falls.
Yeah.
Right. But there are certain areas I've had calls with people, Greg, my town is small. And I go, do you have a stop light? And the answer is no. We have a stop sign. That's it. That's a small area. So to go do 2-3 million in that kind of area, you might be doing 10% of the area or 15% versus Sacramento. You may have 5 massive players, but if everybody's doing 2-3%, guess what? There's room to grow to 8, 9, 10% of that market.
That's good to hear. So there's a few more points on that, like how to increase multiple, because if he wants to do 12 to 15, what are like a few things that he's going to have to check the boxes for him to actually do that? He's talking 5 years, but still it's like aggressive, right?
It can be done, right? So there are many different ways to grow a business. I am a really big fan of slow and steady growth. Slow and steady could be 50% year over year. To some people that is, but I'm reinvesting my profits back into the business. It's adding trucks when I add trucks at the right time. It's adding a CFO and controller at the right time. If you're consistently building out budget and you know your numbers, think about it. If I know how many phone calls I need and to get 80% phone conversion that leads to 85% of the homes that I show up to, leads to 30% installs, if I just can drill all those numbers, then I know exactly how many leads I need to add another truck to be consistent. The challenge is when an owner really doesn't understand their return on investment from my marketing company. I don't understand my return on investment on this, or I send guys out on sales calls and our average tickets are wildly different, but we're not tracking who, why, what it is, then we're challenged to grow and scale a business.
Whose job is that to guide this client? Like, so for instance, if I've got a client that's getting $80 cost per lead and $120 cost per, like we know, like it's confirmed, how homeowner, get out there, which I'm thinking of somebody right now. But like, there is a certain amount of there's a lot of different lead sources. Some of them have a lower set rate, right? Like you can, I know that there's people out there that are good at it, but you can funnel money into Facebook ads and sometimes get like 1 out of 10 is a qualified lead, but that's a big number from my point of view, that like trickle down, how many leads become set appointments. And like, if whose job is it to coach this class? Is it my job as a marketer? I'm not saying that if it is, I'm saying, do you guys guide on that? Should we be guiding on that? Because I've traditionally let them make that, but I'm starting to want to take control of it because I know our numbers are good, and I'm like, I want to teach them our numbers. This is why our numbers are good.
The number one thing I will say on this topic, and you could make this a reel if you want to, it is not the marketing agency's fault. It is the business fault. 99.9% of the time, they are not tracking anything within their business. They may have the phone numbers to track it. They may run it through Service Titan, but they are not going through their book call leads. They're not understanding the numbers. They're not understanding exactly where it goes. They just go, I need more. Well, you have a 30% conversion rate. You don't need more. You need to improve across your CSRs. You need to improve the process of what you're doing when you're in a home, right? So you talked about J-Dub and what he's going to go through on a sales process. There aren't that many that are going to convert at a much higher level than he's going to. But the thing for him, you have to be better at teaching it than doing it yourself, or at least be able to accept, hey, if I can get a whole bunch of guys doing 80% of what I'm capable of doing, that is going to have to be good enough for me as a business manager. But I think that journey to 5 million as an owner is really diving in and understanding your numbers. To me, that's the journey from 1 to 5. The journey from 5 to 10, now I start layering in management. Now I start pushing my general manager, my ops manager, maybe it's my HVAC manager, whatever that looks like, into the role of being responsible. If you don't have an employee scorecard that literally has a job description, how much I'm paying you on a base salary, what all of your bonus structures look like, and what the KPIs are for success that they're signing on day one, then I don't know what you're doing with that person. Right? Clarity and alignment across your business. But to scale from 5 to 10, all of a sudden it's my managers are starting to run that portions of my business. Now that journey, as we approach 8 to 10, CFO, controller, invest in somebody that is a true scorekeeper within your business.
Still a lot of money chasing these transactions. There's still really good outcomes out there for sellers. It's good to have someone like us in your corner because we're not emotional, but guess what? When you're selling your business, it becomes emotional, and so it's really good to have an intermediary, there every step of the way. www.sfpadvisors.com. All the contact information is directly on the website.
So we're talking about the timeline of right time to sell. How much later from then is, like, do you need a couple years under your belt with the CFO maybe? That's the right time to sell?
So it's a great question. And there are many different, right, but there are many different businesses. I had somebody reach out to me. I've been with SFP about a year and a half. They reached out to me really early on. I'm thinking about selling my business. There was a mechanical aspect and a residential aspect. Running it as one business, one balance sheet. We quickly took a look and we're like, we need to separate these businesses. You net get 5x for your business as it is today. But if we spend the next year with accounting, doing the things, and listen, I'm making this stuff up because I don't really, it's not my side of the business, right? Mm-hmm. But there's a whole bunch of accounting that needs to be done from I'll call it a mechanical portion of a business versus a residential. We needed to separate the businesses. We needed 12 months of good, clean new books because we're going to sell one business, then we're going to sell the other. Because why would you sell a residential blended into mechanical, then maybe you get 5x for everything, when I can go sell your mechanical business for 5, 6, 7x, and I can go sell your residential for 10, 11, 12. So it all depends on what your business, so the questions I love to ask, what's really important is understanding the client's business mix. How much property management? Is it pure residential? What commercial is involved? If they're doing any new construction, make this another reel. Do not do any new construction. It's worthless. Don't do it.
Tell me why.
There's no multiple on it. I have somebody that is going through divorce. They do $40 million a year, massive new construction business. Maybe he has about $6 million in EBITDA. He'd be lucky to get $6 million for his business.
That's going to offend some people. That's going to offend some people. How do you wind that down to focus on the more profitable side? Or it's basically because it's not profitable, right?
It's a challenge to grow and scale. If there's no recurring maintenance and there's the things that investors are looking for, it's not the same thing as when I look at a residence or I'm looking at solar panels or generators that I can go and do maintenance work on these things. I can forecast revenue. I can't forecast revenue on something that's ground up new construction. Because frankly, the builders are just as smart as anybody else, and they know the cost to the penny of every little thing that's in the business. So if I'm a buyer, I don't necessarily want that. Yeah, of course they are. Of course they are.
And they have so much control over everything if they're the ones bringing you all your work. Because a lot of people, they have like very few clients when they're doing new construction. They're basically their minions.
It's a race to the bottom line. Now, that doesn't mean in garage doors you can't be profitable and you can't make good money doing that, right? Sometimes roofing, we can be profitable. We can have that as a portion of our business. But I'm talking about electricians, HVAC. Man, it's really challenging to be part of that process of doing ground up new construction.
100%. Talk to me about a few more things that would be signs that you may be closer to ready to sell. And then if people aren't there, they can think about, how do I get to that spot?
Okay. Well, what I'll simply talk about, Tim, is a little bit of my process. Okay. That's okay. So typically when somebody calls me, first question I ask is, Why are we having this conversation? Well, and they may say, I'm typically, thinking about selling my business. I'm really wondering what my business is worth. Awesome. First question I ask people, are you sick and tired of going to work? It's a really important question because there obviously will be days that guys hate going to work. It's the normal frustrations of this employee's a pain in the butt, this guy doesn't show up. But overall, are you happy going to your job? You can answer that on your own. Second question I will typically ask, have you hit a ceiling and don't think you could break through it? Because I got to tell you, if you're happy going to work and you haven't hit a ceiling, okay, great. So far, we're having a good conversation. Third question I would ask, do you know what you want to do next? Man, if you're happy going to work, if you haven't hit a ceiling and you literally don't know what you want to do next, you should not be thinking about selling your business. Now, there's the one last factor that's important. And everybody lives somewhere different. Everybody has a different value of money. Somebody may have a life activity that's like, hey, I could get 10 million for my business. It's more money than I ever thought. It provides me the opportunity to now retire with my wife, spend time with the grandkids. That's what I want to do. That I can understand. So it's all circumstantial based on who you are, what you are, where you are in a cycle. If you're frustrated at work, if you grew 50% year over year and you flew from 0 to 15, 20 million in revenue, now you're consistently hitting that ceiling. It's harder to go to work. You're struggling to get to the next level. Yeah, it very well may be within the next year or 2 years, time to launch your business and bring on a partner.
When you say bring on a partner, talk to me about how that, like your guys' mindset about that and how you think of it. Because they don't just get out right away usually, right?
Every deal is structured differently, right?
Okay.
So when we go through the process with a lot of people, there are some guys, I just want to check. I want the highest bidder in a competitive process. Whoever pays the most gets my business. Then there's other business owners that they really want to be thoughtful about. When you go through the process with the SF&P advisors, we're going to introduce you potentially to 6, 8, 12 different people that really have interest in buying your business. We may get 70, we may get 90, we may get 100 different companies that we're talking to on your behalf for your business. But that's our job. Our job is to interview them. Our job is to really work our way through the list and figure out who's going to be the best partner for you. While you're focused on your business, we're focused on finding you the partner. So that when we make the first, what we'll call fireside chats, the first introductory calls with potential buyers, we're going to bring 6, 8, 10, sometimes as many as 12 of those buyers. And the deal structures are all different. It may be different for a 65-year-old versus a 37-year-old. How much equity do you want to roll? Do you want earnouts in the end? I'm working with somebody now that, we think the business is worth 12 million. He wants 20. How do we bridge the gap? Well, you can either grow it yourself. You could sell a portion of your business for potentially 12 million. You could roll equity or create some earnouts in the future that over the next 2-3 years may pay you the $8 million remaining difference that will get you to the 20 that you were totally looking for. So all of these deals can be structured very differently depending on what the client's end goal is. What we love to say is we represent sellers. It is their process and our job is to get you the ultimate best outcome for you. We're not private equity. That's not our job. Our job is your best outcome.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful thing in a world that's, particularly in HVAC and plumbing, there's almost like a little bit of a mistrust of private equity going on, I think, sometimes right now. And I think it's super useful to have a guide because it could be, and I know you don't want to say this, but I'm just saying it feels like it might be a little bit of a minefield sometimes and you could step on the wrong one. And I'm saying that. I'm not saying you have that opinion. I know you know the best players, so you probably work with the good ones, but there's also other ones, right? How do we not step on a mine? You know, like what are ways to step on a mine?
Love it. So I did this. I love to do random numbers, but on Facebook I posted rant number 2000 whatever a couple of days ago. And what happens is my biggest competitor is not somebody else that's an advisor or broker, right? SF&P, we've closed 407 deals worth $3.4 billion. We have 17 closed deals this year, 6 more under LOI. We'll be in the 30s again this year. We've got plenty of deal flow. We're in a great position. My biggest challenge are those cold emails that every business owner gets. Greg, there's so many people that want to buy my business. Well, they want to know it's a sucker born every day while they're your friends. And I mean, honestly, they are not trying to harm you. They're not trying to screw you over, because I don't want to come across the way. But their job is to buy your business as cheaply as possible. If you are not running a competitive process, you don't know what your business is truly worth. You know, I shared this story with you a little earlier. I had somebody reach out to me a couple of weeks ago. I have somebody that reached out. You know, Greg, they're talking about 6x for my business on 1.2 of EBITDA. I'm like, okay, well, let us take a look at your numbers and let's have a quick exploratory call. You're not hiring us, but we'll give you an evaluation on your business. Really quickly, we discovered a couple of real basic ad backs that they weren't doing, and the EBITDA should have been 1.5 to 1.6. Well, on 6x, that's a huge difference on that alone. But here's the thing. They're an 8x to a 9x business. So why would you sell your business for $8 million when in fact it's worth 15? I understand they were really nice. They were kind people, but there was so much deal experience on the other side of the table. How do you not put that deal experience on your side of the table? From our perspective, we give out free evaluations all the time. It's our job. It's what we do. Tim, we only work on a success fee. So you don't need to engage us. You don't need to hire us without us first giving you, what do we think you're worth? How do you run your money through your business? How do we get an understanding of where we kind of, we'll call it back of the napkin, look at what we think your EBIT is and where we think we fall in the competitive process? I would say half the buyers, if not maybe more, that are emailing you in a competitive process, they're never going to win your business. They might be in the final 5, but ultimately when it comes to, you know, there's a big difference between 8x, 9x to 10x to 11x. Every half a turn, quarter turn, full turn makes a huge difference, even on just a round number of $1 million EBITDA.
Any other minefields or mines that people, like common ones? You said the email thing, falling prey to maybe not, they're not bad, they're just looking for good deals. But anything else?
I don't quite understand the question. The minefield as far as...
yeah, just any other like dangers of like to watch out for. You know, like I understand there's a lot of people emailing people and looking for anything else that's like that.
So you want an advisor, a broker, however you want to look at it, somebody that understands how to vet clients. Just because you're getting emails, you know, my challenge, Tim, I can't lead with numbers. Another advisor, another broker, they could simply call you and be like, how much do you want for your business? Private equity is like, if I wrote you a check for $20 million, would you sell your business? Some guys will jump and go, man, if you wrote me that check today, I'd take it. I can't do that. I'm never going to do that because it's not ethical. I need to understand your EBITDA. I need to understand your business. I need to understand your growth potential. I might be able to get you $20 million in a competitive environment today, but for 6 months, if you wait and we help you with all the ad backs and your growth multiple comes into play, it might be $26 million 6 months from now. I don't know about you, but I'll wait 6 months for an extra $5 or $6 million.
Yes, sir.
So to answer your question, it's really some of these people that are emailing you that want to help you exit, they don't have a client list. They want to throw it on LinkedIn. They want to go to some people. They don't have verified buyers. So January 1, 2001 SF&P started. I'll say it again, 400 transactions, $3.4 billion. Our job is to vet the buyers and know and understand that the people that we're letting you talk to are qualified.
No, I appreciate that. No, I've talked to private equity firms before, and the person that I was dealing with didn't even have any clue what was going on really. And I was trying to pick their brain. You know what I mean? I'm trying to oh, tell me how to increase my valuation. And there's almost no, and it's just sometimes it's just an intern, somebody barely understands what's going to do it. So yeah, to try taking business advice from a guy who's, 6 months out of college, one of these, respectfully, he's probably going to be a smart guy, but I'm just saying
right.
Early.
The other minefield, and it's just me being a little bit of a hater. If somebody went through a process once and now they think they could take everybody through the process, please. SFP, we have somebody on our team with a law degree. We have beyond an enormous amount of deal experience. We had in-house CPAs with buy-side experience. Just because somebody's oh, I did one deal, I sold my business, now I'll teach you how to sell yours and run a process for you. They don't even know how to do it. Just because you've been through it once does not give you the deal experience, at least in my view, to be hey, I'm your best option, when there are companies like us that have done, whether it's 100 deals, 200 deals. I would just ask that you vet your advisor and vet your broker and compare deal experience.
I think that's a great mindset. We're talking about any final details on when to know when you're ready to sell, basically. And I was thinking about, there's market fluctuations happening right now. We are in an election year. So how is that affecting?
This year?
Yeah. How is that affecting kind of deal volume, I guess, that you guys have going on? And is that something, because you mentioned the one where it's if you have a 3 bad month stretch, maybe wait until that's not in your trailing 12 months. I think that's a really good tip. Is there anything related to election year and the fluctuations in the economy that you can share with us?
So this third, fourth quarter is typically when we do the most deals we do throughout the year. I'm not sure that that's really going to be the case this year. From the things that other people are telling me, it sounds like 2025 is going to be an enormous amount of deal flow. So I think there's a chance that not as many, usually when we get stuff by September 15th, we know it'll close by year end. Once you're in our pipeline, you're engaged, we're taking you to market, we're ready to go. Typically, if something hits our books by mid-September to end, most of the time PE wants to close out their books and they want it done by year end. I don't know that there seems to be that sense of urgency this year that there typically have been in the past 2 to 3 years. So that could be interest rates, it could be election, there could be many factors at play. But as I said earlier, when I start seeing 11, 12, 13x multiples on businesses, it's a really nice uptick that we've seen on multiples. Interestingly enough, and this kind of blew my mind, there were a couple of things that blew my mind recently. One was HVAC has always typically been the bellwether. I will tell you right now, if you own a plumbing business and you're doing just plumbing, there's a chance I might be able to get you a higher multiple for your plumbing business than your HVAC business. Everything else being equal. Same marketplace, same everything. Right now, we're kind of seeing better multiples on plumbing. The other thing that blew my mind, if you're in the pest business, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16x on businesses. Consistently on those businesses.
That's a good business.
It's a really good business.
I like to hear it. I like tree care too. I don't know why. I feel like the only thing that's terrible about tree services, it is a dangerous job. So there's got to be some big old insurance things and some stress.
Yeah, I've seen you on some roofs lately. I'm not sure I want to see you with the clamps climbing the tree.
Don't. Maybe I shouldn't do any niche in that niche because my wife already gets mad at me for trying to lift shingles. So last bit on this, because we're talking about macro trends to wrap it up. Macro trend, it's kind of the appetite of private equity that we're saying might be down a little bit this year because there's a lot going on. Macro trend for appetite. The appetite seemed like how much money wants to get into businesses, right? It's like private equity needs to spend their money. It's like and that's why you see these increasing valuations because the money needs to move for those guys to make money.
Yep.
So that being said, the macro trend seems like it's been going up, up, up. And particularly roofing too now, it's like very high.
Yep.
What are we looking at? Is it going to still keep going up? What is driving that macro trend of it seems like it's increasing the intensity for appetite for these home service businesses? Is that going to last 5 years? Where are we at on that curve?
I definitely don't have the crystal ball that could tell you where we'll be.
Yeah, that's a big question.
Right? But I could certainly tell you, and you and Fred had touched on this, the speed at which roofing consolidated in such a short period of a couple of years was unbelievable. Fred even mentioned, there were some buyers that thought they might have missed it because everything went so quickly, but it hasn't slowed down. There are still so many companies available that are reasonable sized businesses in that space. Man, if I'm growing a business, you touched on this earlier. I don't mind starting an HVAC business, a roofing business, whatever it is. Pluck me down in the middle of Sacramento with all these PE-backed companies that I'm competing against. I'll take my chances that I'll be able to grow and scale something based on price, based on knowledge, being able to scale it. But from a macro trend question, I don't think we're going to see a slowdown. I think multiples will continue to be there. I think they might turn their view of, hey, we've gobbled up so many HVAC. Let's now take a look at plumbing, and what do they recognize? Well, I might need 4,000 customers in my database on HVAC to be a $5 million business, but in plumbing, I might need 15,000 to be the same size. Oh, wait a second. There's value to having 15,000 people in the database, which is different than what I got when I bought the HVAC businesses. So now I want more plumbing businesses because I can add that, roll that into my HVAC, my electrical, and really expand the customer base that I'm serving. So I don't think that there will be a slowdown. So I don't want to get a sort of a misthought. I just don't think there's a sense of urgency to have deals close. At least that's how it feels to me. But again, I'm on the sales side here at SF&P. So asking that question to the guys that are responsible for closing the deals on the other side of the business, they may have a very different answer than I have.
I like what you're talking about plumbing, though. Ishmael was just on, Ishmael Valdez. Go watch that one if you guys haven't. It's a very good show.
We did his deal. Good plug.
Really? I think he did a great job on that, and you guys did a great job on that, so congratulations. Very smart guy. He obviously wanted to be thoughtful about how he did this, and getting advisors obviously got him a better deal. So strongly recommend working with you guys on that. I was just going to say he loves plumbing now. He's like talking about plumbing a lot. He's like, I want to really get into plumbing because he's like, yeah, the next business I'm going to do, I think he's is waiting a second, but he's just really excited about it because of the anchoredness and the fact that you can continue coming back to the home on a regular basis and all the different things like that. It's almost like a little closer, like a recurring, it's like more of a recurring thing. Yeah, basically smart people are talking about plumbing, and I love to hear it. I love plumbing businesses. I love plumbing plumbers and the types of people that are in the plumbing business, and a lot of our clients do both. So, how about the both thing? How does both play out? If there's any other details you want to give on that before we wrap up here, like if you're doing HVAC and plumbing, how does that affect EBITDA or anything like that?
No, I think the multiples are going to be the same, right? It's all about market share. It's all about how well grown out they both are. I was with somebody recently that has very little in electrical, that owns HVAC plumbing. Said, Greg, should we grow electrical? The answer is, well, can you? If you can, and it's profitable, go do it. When you run a home service business, everything, if you literally run your business, let's just use 10x because it's such an easy round number. Even guys like us could probably do the math on a 10x, right? But if you run your business and think about every expense that you run through it, is a 10x. I'm going to go hire somebody that's management for growth that costs me $125,000. Well, guess what? That's $1.25 million. I'm just doing 10 times, right? But it's basic math. Am I going to get that return in the window that I then want to sell my business for? Is it worth adding that expenditure to my balance sheet? Because if I'm selling my business, why would I add that to my business? I'd rather have 10x on that part of my EBITDA. It's the old story of you see somebody driving a Ferrari and you're like, why'd you spend $3 million on a Ferrari? The guy's like, I didn't spend $3 million on a Ferrari, I spent $300,000. I'm like, did you sell your business? No. Did you run the car through your business? Yes. Good. Then you just spent $3 million on the car.
Yeah.
10x. Like, come on now.
I like that. That's a great way to round this off. How can people get a hold of you, Greg, if they wanted to work with you?
So what I'll do is I'll drop my Calendly to you. You can put it in the comments.
Yes, sir.
Easiest way. I always have this baby on me. So my cell phone, which is 973-919-5509, is always the easiest. You can go to our website, sfpadvisors.com. And then there's my email, Gregg, Gregg, at sfpadvisors.com.
And if they click the link below the Calendly to schedule, how long is that first call? And is it pretty basic to start, or how do you guys start?
So it's just what I went through already. It's really a question of, my job is really to understand you, where you are in your business, understand your family, your time frame, your long-term goals. We talked about this earlier. To somebody, 8 million might be more money than they ever dreamed of. Somebody else might want 100 million. Everybody's different. So it's really uncovering sort of where they are in their cycle, where they potentially want to be, what the conversations look like. And then if guys love the conversation with me and they want to take the next step would just literally be a free evaluation. It just means sign a non-disclosure, send us the financials that I asked for. We'll do another 20, 30-minute call with one of the other teammates of ours. We just try and understand how you run money through your business, get an idea of what your add backs, if they're positive or negative, so we can go to you, hey, here's where we think your EBITDA is. Here's where we think your company's worth today. By the way, there's some really obvious things that we see in your business, right? Cost of goods sold. There's 3 numbers that I consistently see in people's businesses. 2 of them are tied together, gross profit and cost of goods sold. Your cost of goods sold is 60%, your gross profit's going to be 40%. Of the 407 deals, the average is right at about 50%. The other number one thing, Tim, that I see in almost everybody's business, their total expenses are too high. So of the 407 deals we've done, the average is about 30.4%. So when we go through line items of your business, because we're going through your balance, we're going through your P&L, and we see 40% of your total is spent on total expenses, guess what? That's something that you can easily look at and bring things down. So clear and obvious things we'll see, and we may give you advice. Hey, go back to your coach. Work them on helping you with this, with this, with this. We're not a coach. It's not our job, not what we wanted to, but we could certainly help advise you of what we see that you could take forward to improve in your business. And if we think you're within a 1 or 2 year window, it may be time to have that next conversation about when's the right time to actually engage us to prepare.
I appreciate that very, very much. And I appreciate you being on today. Thank you, everyone, for watching. This is the Plumbing and HVAC Hustle Podcast. And It's put on by hookagency.com, Hook Agency all over social media. All right, see you guys. Bye.